These are the chords of C major. And this chord, this is our dominant chord. In songwriting, we're trying to tell stories. And this guy, our dominant, well, he's got a leading role. In music, each scale degree has its own name and role and function. For example, the first degree of any musical scale is known as the tonic. If we were writing music in C major, the first degree of our scale, the C, would be our tonic note. And the chord built off that would be our tonic chord. And if we were in C major, that would be the most important chord in our piece of music. But all the other chords have their own names and functions. And I want to discuss all of those today. And especially the chord which is built off the fifth degree of the scale, which is called our dominant chord. So as I've already said, the first musical degree of our scale is the tonic. This is our home note, and therefore it is the most stable. And I believe that the word tonic derives from the Greek word for pitch. The second degree of the scale is called the supertonic. Now this comes from the Latin word super, which means on top of or above. And that makes sense, as this is the degree of the scale and the note directly above the tonic. You may have already noticed that the etymology of some of the words and terms used here are Greek and others are Latin. The third degree of our scale is called the median. This lies midway between the tonic and the dominant. Next up, our fourth degree of the scale. This is known as the subdominant. Now, obviously, sub means below or under, as in like submarine, subterranean. I don't think this is called a subdominant because this is the note just below our dominant. Rather, the dominant is 5 notes above the tonic. The subdominant is 5 notes below, under, sub, the tonic. So it's a mirror image of the dominant. The dominant, again, is 5 notes above the tonic, and the subdominant is 5 notes below, sub, hence subdominant. The dominant has a very special relationship with the tonic. It is the chord that most strongly wants to resolve to the tonic. And when it does this, it creates a perfect cadence, probably the most commonly used cadence in all of music. The sixth degree of the scale is called the submedian because it's a mirror image of the median. The median lying 3 notes above the tonic. This is 3 notes below sub the tonic, submediant. And finally, we have the 7th degree of our scale. This is called the leading note. This note really wants to resolve upwards the semitone to our tonic. When it's in a melody, or even as a part of a chord, it wants to resolve upwards to the tonic. As I said earlier, the dominant chord is the most important chord after our tonic because it wants to go to the tonic. It wants to give us that perfect cadence. We have this very important dominant tonic relationship. Our key of C major here obviously only has one dominant chord, the chord of G major. But we can use something really cool called secondary dominants and give ourselves way more. See, almost every chord in our key of C major has its own dominant. For example, if we look at the second chord in our key of C major, that's a D minor, that has its own dominant, which is an A major chord. It wants to go from A major to D minor. Now, A major doesn't belong in our key of C major, but we can pinch this chord from D minor and use it in our chord progression. Let's look at another example. The 6th chord in our key of C major is A minor. The dominant chord of A minor is E major. The perfect cadence there is E major to A minor, 5-1. And again, we could borrow this E major chord and put it in our key signature of C major. Let's look at an example now from Elton John, where he uses a chord progression using this exact secondary dominant.
And now I know Spanish Harlem not.
Even though they almost always do, secondary dominants don't necessarily have to resolve to the one chord they want to. We can just take our secondary dominant and use it anywhere in our chord progression that we like. Now let me show you one more quick example from the song I've written for this video. Now in that example, there's more going on than just the secondary dominant, but I'll explain that at the end of the video. So again, a secondary dominant is what we call a borrowed chord, and we get one by picking a chord from our key and playing the dominant chord of that chord. Okay, now let's listen to song 5 out of 100. This song is called The Train.
split open can. Clouds of steam conceal the pain. Takes me 2 miles to my final fate. There's a control in the stress on the line. Cartoon villains got a tight in a bind. Struggling limbs on a listening rows. I've seen enough of these to give a hold. I've had enough. I've had enough of this that track. I felt too much of the sun on my back. I've had enough. I've had enough of this that track. I felt too much of the sun on my back. Rocking me like my mother's arms. Rhythm swaying like lazy palms. Starting out just to crawl like a sailor ball from a southern draws. There's a control in distress on the line. Cartoon villains got a tight in a bind. Struggling limbs on a listening rows. I've seen enough of these to give a hold. I've had enough. I've had enough of this track. I felt too much of the sun on my back. I've had enough. I think I'd rather just not see predictable. What tea is killing me. I know every bend, I know every stop. It's like my life's planned out until the day I drop.
Well, there we have it. Song 5 out of 100 done. 95 to go. And what did I learn from this song? Quite a lot, actually. First and foremost, need to embrace the cringe. This series is about writing 100 songs. Not 100 great songs, not even 100 good songs, just 100 songs. Think about a child taking its first 100 steps, or a driver the first 100 minutes behind the wheel. It's bad. It's always going to be bad, that's just the way it is. So we need to use this time to experiment, have some fun, and play around. There was another thing I learned from this song as well. You may have noticed in this series that I try and explain a musical concept and then write a song using said concept. Well, I've learned here that there's no reason why we can't do multiple concepts at the same time. In this song, I take a secondary dominant, that then resolves to a chord which is inverted, and then I use chromatic passing notes between the two to create a melody. That's 3 musical concepts there in one 2-bar musical phrase. Now you can imagine the possibilities that opens up for us as composers. So that's something I learned. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you got something out of it. If you did, please like and subscribe, and please join me in the next video and the next song.